Maria Thompson had always been someone who refused to give up, no matter how hard life got. Born into a modest family, she learned early on that nothing came easy, and if you wanted something, you had to fight for it. Her journey began long before she became the proud owner of her own hotel. She was a single mother raising two young children, Emma, who was 8, and Jake, just 5 years old. Every day was a balancing act between working odd jobs, taking care of her kids, and dreaming of a better future. But Maria wasn't just surviving. She was thriving through sheer determination. Her dream, to open her own hotel, a place where people could feel at home, even when they were far away from theirs. It wasn't about luxury or fancy decorations. It was about creating a warm, welcoming space where everyone felt valued. This idea came from her own experiences traveling with her children. They often stayed in hotels that treated them like second-class guests, simply because they didn't look wealthy or polished enough. Maria promised herself that if she ever opened a hotel, it would be different. It would be a haven, not just for travelers, but for anyone seeking comfort and kindness. Years passed, and Maria worked tirelessly to save every penny she could. She juggled multiple jobs, waitressing during the day, cleaning offices at night, and occasionally babysitting neighborhood kids on weekends. Her friends and family admired her strength, but there were moments when even Maria doubted herself. Nights were the hardest. After tucking Emma and Jake into bed, she'd sit alone in the dim light of her tiny apartment, wondering if all her sacrifices would ever pay off. Yet each time doubt crept in, she reminded herself why she started this journey in the first place: for her children, for her independence, and for the hope of leaving behind something meaningful. Finally, after nearly a decade of relentless effort, Maria saved enough money to buy an old building in the heart of their small town. With the help of some close friends and a few generous loans, she transformed the dilapidated structure into what would become Thompson's Haven. The name itself carried deep significance. It wasn't just her last name. It symbolized safety, refuge, and belonging. When the doors opened for the first time, Maria stood outside, tears streaming down her face as she welcomed her very first guests. For once, everything seemed perfect. But life has a funny way of testing people, especially when they least expect it. One stormy evening, Maria returned to her hotel after running errands across town. The rain poured heavily, soaking her clothes and ruining her usually tidy appearance. Exhausted from a long day, she walked into the lobby expecting warmth and familiarity, but instead she encountered cold stares and awkward silence. Before she could figure out what was happening, one of the front desk clerks approached her hesitantly. "I'm sorry, Miss Thompson," the clerk said nervously, avoiding eye contact. "We've been instructed not to allow you access to your room tonight." Maria froze. "What do you mean? This is my hotel." The clerk shuffled uncomfortably. It's corporate policy. They said your attire and demeanor aren't suitable for our standards right now. We can't make exceptions." Suitable? Standards? Maria couldn't believe what she was hearing. She glanced down at her soaked shirt and muddy shoes, realizing how disheveled she must have looked. But still, this was her home, the place she had poured her blood, sweat, and tears into building. How dare someone tell her she didn't belong here? As anger bubbled inside her, Maria demanded answers. Who gave these instructions? Why was she being treated like an outsider in her own establishment? The staff avoided answering directly, mumbling vague excuses about higher-ups making decisions beyond their control. Frustrated and humiliated, Maria stepped back into the pouring rain, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Her mind raced with questions. Was this some kind of mistake? Or was there something more sinister going on behind the scenes? That night, as Maria sat in her car outside the hotel, watching the lights glow softly through the windows, she made a silent vow. No one, not corporate executives, not ungrateful employees, and certainly not petty rules, would take away what she had worked so hard to build. If they thought denying her entry would break her spirit, they were dead wrong. This wasn't just about a hotel anymore. This was about proving to herself and the world that she was stronger than any obstacle thrown her way. Little did Maria know This moment of rejection would spark a chain of events that would change everything. For her hotel, and for the entire community. What started as a personal insult would soon grow into a battle for justice, dignity, and the power of standing up for what's right. And Maria? Well, she was just getting started. The next morning, Maria woke up with a heavy heart but a mind buzzing with questions. How could this happen? Who had the authority to lock her out of her own hotel? And why now, after all the sacrifices she'd made and the success she'd achieved? Determined to get answers, she decided to dig deeper into what was happening behind the scenes at Thompson's Haven. Maria started by talking to some of the staff members she trusted. These were people who had been with her since the beginning. People who knew her story and believed in her vision, but even they seemed hesitant to speak openly. One of the housekeepers, Lisa, finally pulled Maria aside during a quiet moment. "Maria," Lisa whispered, glancing around nervously to make sure no one was listening. "You need to know something. Greg, he's been saying things about you. Bad things." Greg was one of the senior managers Maria had hired early on. At first, he seemed like a great addition to the team. Professional, organized, and eager to help grow the business. Over time, though, his attitude had shifted. He began criticizing Maria's hands-on approach, claiming it made the hotel look unpolished. According to Lisa, Greg had convinced corporate executives that Maria wasn't fit to represent the hotel's image anymore. He argued that guests preferred a more polished, distant owner rather than someone who greeted them personally or helped carry their luggage when needed. Maria felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, and disbelief. She couldn't understand how someone she trusted could turn against her so completely. But as she listened to Lisa, another thought crossed her mind. Was this really just about appearances, or was there something bigger at play? Determined to uncover the truth, Maria spent hours reviewing emails, financial records, and employee communications. What she found shocked her. Greg had been secretly manipulating reports to make it seem like certain areas of the hotel were underperforming due to Maria's leadership. He claimed her focus on affordable rates for local families was driving away wealthier guests. In reality, the hotel's profits had steadily increased since opening, thanks largely to Maria's efforts to build strong relationships with the community. But Greg didn't stop there. He also spread rumors among employees, painting Maria as unreliable and overly emotional. Some staff members admitted feeling pressured to side with him because he promised promotions or better shifts in exchange for loyalty. Others simply went along with his narrative because they feared losing their jobs if they spoke out. Slowly but surely, Greg had created a divide between Maria and the very people who once supported her. Feeling isolated and powerless, Maria retreated to her tiny apartment to think. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to cry, not out of self-pity, but out of frustration. How could someone twist her kindness into a weakness? How could they dismiss everything she'd built as unworthy? The tears subsided. Maria realized something important. Crying wouldn't solve anything. If she wanted to fix this mess, she needed a plan. Sitting at her kitchen table, she grabbed a notebook and began jotting down ideas. First, she listed everyone she could trust: friends, former colleagues, and loyal employees who still believed in her vision. Next, she outlined steps to gather evidence of Greg's misconduct. Finally, she brainstormed ways to win back the support of both her staff and the community. One name stood out on her list: Clara Bennett, a retired journalist who had interviewed Maria when Thompson's Haven first opened. Clara had always admired Maria's determination and often encouraged her to share her story with others. Maybe, Maria thought, it was time to tell that story again, but this time to a much wider audience. With renewed resolve, Maria reached out to Clara. When they met over coffee the next day, Maria poured her heart out, explaining everything that had happened. Clara listened intently, nodding occasionally but mostly letting Maria vent. By the end of their conversation, Clara leaned forward with a determined look in her eyes. "Maria," she said firmly, "this isn't just your fight, it's everyone's fight. People love what you've done with this hotel. They see themselves in you. All we need to do is remind them why they fell in love with Thompson's Haven in the first place. Clara suggested starting a social media campaign to raise awareness about Maria's situation. The idea excited Maria. She'd never been big on social media, but she understood its power. Together, they came up with a simple yet impactful hashtag, My Hotel, My Story. The goal was to share personal anecdotes from guests whose lives had been touched by Maria's hospitality, as well as highlight Maria's journey from struggling single mother to successful entrepreneur. Over the next few days, Maria worked tirelessly to bring the campaign to life. She posted photos of herself working late nights to renovate the hotel, videos of happy guests celebrating milestones in its halls, and heartfelt messages thanking those who had supported her along the way. She even shared the painful story of being denied entry to her own hotel, admitting how hurt and humiliated she felt. The response was overwhelming. Within hours, My Hotel, My Story began trending locally. Guests who had stayed at Thompson's Haven flooded the comments section with stories of how Maria had gone above and beyond to make their visits special. One couple recounted how Maria personally baked cookies for their anniversary celebration. A solo traveler described how Maria sat with her during a difficult night, offering comfort and advice. Even strangers chimed in, praising Maria for standing up against unfair treatment. Local news outlets picked up the story, interviewing Maria and featuring clips from her social media posts. Travel bloggers who had previously written glowing reviews of Thompson's Haven joined the conversation, urging their followers to support Maria's cause. Reservations for the hotel skyrocketed, not because of any flashy advertising campaign, but because people genuinely wanted to stand by Maria. Meanwhile, Maria continued gathering evidence of Greg's unethical behavior. She discovered emails where he mocked her parenting skills, called her too soft to run a business, and even suggested replacing her entirely. Armed with these documents, Maria prepared to confront not only Greg, but also the corporate executives who had enabled his actions. Despite the mounting pressure, Maria refused to let bitterness consume her. Instead, she focused on channeling her anger into action. Every insult Greg threw her way only fueled her determination to prove him wrong. Every obstacle became an opportunity to show the world what she was truly capable of. By the time Maria walked into the emergency meeting called by corporate executives, she was ready. She carried folders filled with evidence, a folder containing heartfelt letters from guests, and most importantly, an unshakable belief in herself and her mission. This wasn't just about reclaiming her hotel anymore. It was about setting an example for anyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough. And as she took her seat at the conference table surrounded by suits and stern faces, Maria smiled. She knew the battle ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew one thing for certain. She was no longer fighting alone. Maria's plan was coming together piece by piece. She knew she couldn't take on Greg and the corporate executives alone, but with the support of her loyal friends, former colleagues, and the growing number of people rallying behind her online, she felt a renewed sense of strength. The My Hotel, My Story campaign had ignited a fire not just in Maria, but in everyone who believed in fairness, hard work, and standing up for what's right. Now it was time to turn that energy into action. The first step was gathering concrete evidence. Maria spent countless hours combing through emails, financial records, and internal memos. It wasn't easy. Greg had been careful to cover his tracks, but Maria's persistence paid off. She uncovered a series of falsified reports where Greg exaggerated losses in certain departments, blaming them on Maria's lack of professionalism. He claimed her focus on affordable rates for local families was driving away high-paying guests, even though the hotel's revenue had consistently grown since opening. In reality, Greg was using these fabricated numbers to justify cutting costs in areas like staff training and guest amenities, changes that directly contradicted Maria's vision for Thompson's Haven. But Maria didn't stop there. She also collected testimonials from employees who had witnessed Greg's manipulative behavior firsthand. Some recounted how he pressured them to side with him, threatening to reduce their hours or block promotions if they didn't comply. Others shared how he dismissed Maria's ideas during meetings, often mocking her in private afterward. These stories painted a clear picture. Greg wasn't just trying to undermine Maria. He was systematically dismantling everything she had built. With this evidence in hand, Maria knew she needed to present it in a way that would resonate with both corporate executives and the public. That's where Clara came in. Together, they crafted a detailed presentation that combined facts, personal stories, and emotional appeals. They included photos of Maria working tirelessly to renovate the hotel, videos of happy guests sharing their experiences, and letters from community members expressing gratitude for Maria's contributions. The goal was simple: to show everyone, not just corporate leaders, why Maria deserved to remain at the helm of Thompson's Haven. At the same time, Maria continued leveraging the power of social media. The My Hotel, My Story campaign had already gained significant traction, but Maria wanted to keep the momentum going. She started hosting live Q&A sessions, inviting guests to share their favorite memories from the hotel. One evening, she featured a young couple who had held their wedding reception at Thompson's Haven. They described how Maria had personally decorated the ballroom and stayed late to ensure every detail was perfect. Another session highlighted a single mother who had brought her children to the hotel for a much-needed vacation. She tearfully thanked Maria for making them feel like royalty despite their modest budget. These stories struck a chord with viewers, many of whom saw themselves in Maria's journey. Comments poured in from people across the country, praising her resilience and vowing to visit Thompson's Haven as soon as possible. Local businesses also joined the cause, offering discounts to anyone booking a stay at the hotel. Even the mayor of the town publicly supported Maria, calling her a pillar of the community during a city council meeting. As the campaign gained steam, reservations for Thompson's Haven skyrocketed. Guests weren't just booking rooms, they were showing up to support Maria. Many left heartfelt notes at the front desk, thanking her for inspiring them to pursue their own dreams. Others posted glowing reviews online, further boosting the hotel's reputation. For the first time in weeks, Maria felt a glimmer of hope. Her hotel wasn't just surviving, it was thriving thanks to the love and loyalty of those who believed in her. Meanwhile, corporate executives began feeling the heat. News outlets picked up the story, shining a spotlight on Greg's unethical practices and the treatment Maria had endured. Shareholders demanded answers, questioning why such a successful venture was being jeopardized by internal conflicts. Behind closed doors, executives scrambled to find a solution, realizing too late that they had underestimated Maria's determination and the power of public opinion. Despite the mounting pressure, Maria remained focused. She rehearsed her presentation, repeatedly ensuring she could deliver it with confidence and clarity. She practiced answering potential questions, anticipating every argument Greg might throw her way. Most importantly, she reminded herself why she was doing this, not just for herself but for her children, her staff, and the countless guests who had found comfort within the walls of Thompson's Haven. Finally, the day of the emergency meeting arrived. Maria dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that reflected both her professionalism and her authenticity. As she walked into the conference room, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. Around the table sat corporate executives, their faces unreadable. Greg was there too, smug and self-assured, clearly expecting Maria to crumble under pressure. Maria took a deep breath and began her presentation. She started with the evidence, laying out Greg's falsified reports and discriminatory policies in painstaking detail. She showed screenshots of his emails, highlighting his dismissive tone and outright hostility toward her leadership. Then, she shifted to the human side of the story, sharing testimonials from employees and guests alike. She played video clips of happy families celebrating milestones at the hotel, of weary travelers finding solace in its cozy rooms, and of community members praising Maria's commitment to inclusivity. By the time she reached the final slide, a collage of smiling faces, surrounded by the words, "Thompson's Haven, a place for everyone." The atmosphere in the room had shifted. The executives looked uneasy, exchanging nervous glances. Greg, for the first time, appeared rattled. When Maria finished speaking, the room fell silent. After a moment, one of the executives cleared his throat. Ms. Thompson, he said slowly, we had no idea things had escalated to this point. Clearly, there has been a grave misunderstanding. Maria nodded, keeping her expression calm but firm. This isn't just a misunderstanding, she replied. It's a pattern of behavior that undermines everything I've worked for. If you truly value this hotel and the community it serves, you'll address these issues immediately. The rest of the meeting unfolded quickly. Corporate leaders grilled Greg about his actions, his earlier confidence crumbling under scrutiny. By the end, it was clear that his days at Thompson's Haven were numbered. As the executives announced their decision to terminate Greg's employment effective immediately, Maria allowed herself a small smile. Justice had been served, but she knew this was only the beginning. Walking out of the meeting, Maria felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had fought for her dream, her dignity, and her place in the world, and she had won. But more than that, she had proven something far greater, that kindness, integrity, and perseverance could overcome even the toughest challenges. And as she stepped back into the lobby of Thompson's Haven, greeted by cheers from her staff and hugs from her children, Maria knew she was exactly where she belonged. The emergency meeting had ended, but the ripple effects of Maria's victory were only beginning to unfold. As word spread about Greg's termination and Maria's triumphant return to full control of Thompson's Haven, the atmosphere at the hotel transformed overnight. Staff members who had once hesitated to speak up now approached Maria with smiles and apologies, promising their unwavering support moving forward. Guests checked in with renewed enthusiasm, eager to be part of a place that stood for fairness, inclusivity, and resilience. For Maria, it was more than just vindication. It was validation of everything she had worked so hard to build. But Maria wasn't about to rest on her laurels. She knew this moment was an opportunity to not only reclaim her position, but also redefine what Thompson's Haven represented. Over the next few weeks, she rolled up her sleeves and got to work implementing changes that would ensure no one ever felt excluded or mistreated again. Her first order of business? Introducing mandatory training programs for all employees, focusing on empathy, customer care, and conflict resolution. These sessions weren't just about teaching staff how to handle difficult situations. They were about instilling the core values Maria had envisioned when she opened the hotel: kindness, respect, and a commitment to making every guest feel valued. Maria also decided to create a guest ambassador program, inviting frequent visitors to share feedback directly with her. This initiative gave guests a voice in shaping the hotel's future, ensuring their needs and preferences were always prioritized. The response was overwhelmingly positive. One elderly couple, regulars at the hotel, suggested adding wheelchair-accessible features to certain rooms. Another guest recommended hosting weekly community events like storytelling nights or art workshops to bring locals and travelers together. Maria implemented each suggestion with enthusiasm, knowing these small touches would make a big difference. The hotel flourished under her renewed leadership. Maria turned her attention to repairing relationships within the corporate structure. While she had regained full autonomy over Thompson's Haven, she understood the importance of maintaining a healthy partnership with corporate executives. During follow-up meetings, Maria presented a clear vision for the hotel's future, one rooted in authenticity and community engagement. She emphasized that success wasn't measured solely by profit margins, but by the impact the hotel had on people's lives. To her surprise, many of the executives seemed genuinely moved by her passion and agreed to support her initiatives moving forward. One of Maria's boldest moves was transforming the hotel's marketing strategy. Gone were the glossy ads targeting wealthy clientele. Instead, she focused on real stories from real people. She launched a series of short videos featuring interviews with guests, staff, and even local business owners who had benefited from the hotel's presence in the community. In one particularly touching segment, a single father shared how Maria had arranged a special birthday celebration for his daughter when they couldn't afford anything extravagant. "This isn't just a hotel," he said through tears. "It's a home away from home." These heartfelt stories resonated deeply with viewers, drawing even more attention to Thompson's Haven. Travel bloggers praised Maria's approach, calling it a breath of fresh air in an industry often obsessed with luxury. Social media buzzed with praise, and reservations continued to pour in. What started as a personal battle against injustice had blossomed into a movement, a testament to the power of staying true to your values. Despite her newfound success, Maria remained grounded. She made it a point to spend time with her children, every evening, sharing meals and listening to their day-to-day adventures. Emma and Jake, now older and more aware of what their mother had endured, looked up to her with admiration. "You're my hero, Mom," Jake said one night as they sat on the couch watching TV. Maria smiled, pulling him close. "I'm nobody's hero, sweetie. I'm just someone who refused to give up." Her humility didn't go unnoticed by others either. Employees often remarked on how approachable Maria was, despite her busy schedule. Whether it was helping a new intern learn the ropes or personally welcoming a nervous first-time traveler, Maria led by example, showing everyone around her that leadership wasn't about authority, it was about service. By the end of the year, Thompson's Haven had become more than just a successful hotel. It was a symbol of resilience and hope. Local schools invited Maria to speak at career days, where she inspired students with her story of perseverance. Community organizations honored her with awards for her contributions to the town. Even national publications took notice, featuring Maria in articles about women entrepreneurs breaking barriers in male-dominated industries. Through it all, Maria never forgot the lessons she had learned during those dark days when she felt betrayed and powerless. Those experiences had taught her the importance of surrounding herself with trustworthy allies, standing firm in her convictions, and using adversity as fuel for growth. They had also reminded her of something even more profound. That true strength comes not from fighting alone but from building connections with others who believe in your cause. Late one evening, as Maria stood on the balcony overlooking the bustling lobby below, she reflected on how far she had come. The hotel was alive with laughter, chatter, and the warm glow of lights. Families gathered around the fireplace, couples sipped coffee at the cafe, and children played games in the corner. Every face told a story, and every smile was a reminder of why Maria had started this journey in the first place. She thought back to the stormy night when she had been denied entry to her own hotel, the anger, the humiliation, the fear. But instead of sadness, she felt pride. That moment had been the catalyst for change, pushing her to fight harder, dream bigger, and prove to the world that she belonged exactly where she was. And now, standing here amidst the vibrant energy of Thompson's Haven, Maria knew she had done more than reclaim her hotel. She had created a legacy, a place where anyone could walk in feeling lost and leave feeling found. For Maria, this wasn't the end of the road. It was a new beginning, filled with endless possibilities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them head-on, armed with the knowledge that she had already overcome the impossible. After all, if there was one thing Maria Thompson had proven, it was that no obstacle was too great when you believed in yourself, and in the power of community. Maria's journey had come full circle, but her story was far from over. The transformation of Thompson's Haven wasn't just about reclaiming control, it was about creating a legacy that would endure for generations. Every corner of the hotel now reflected Maria's vision: warmth, inclusivity, and a deep sense of belonging. From the cozy reading nooks filled with books donated by local authors to the vibrant community board showcasing events and opportunities, every detail reminded guests that they were part of something special. One of Maria's proudest achievements was the establishment of the Haven Helpers program. This initiative paired staff members with guests who needed extra assistance, whether it was helping an elderly traveler navigate the town or ensuring a family on a tight budget felt welcome without judgment. Employees embraced the program wholeheartedly, often going above and beyond their duties to make guests feel at home. One memorable example came when Lisa, the housekeeper who had first warned Maria about Greg's schemes, noticed a young single mother struggling to entertain her restless toddler. Without hesitation, Lisa arranged for coloring supplies and snacks to be delivered to the room, along with a handwritten note offering babysitting services if the mother wanted some time to relax. Small gestures like these became the hallmark of Thompson's Haven, earning it a reputation as one of the most compassionate hotels in the region. As word spread about the unique atmosphere at the hotel, it attracted not only travelers but also organizations looking to host events aligned with Maria's values. Nonprofits began booking conferences and retreats at Thompson's Haven, knowing they could count on Maria's team to provide exceptional service while staying true to their mission. A local charity that supported underprivileged children even held its annual gala at the hotel, transforming the ballroom into a magical space filled with laughter and hope. Maria herself took the stage during the event, sharing stories of resilience and encouraging attendees to keep fighting for what mattered most. Her speech brought tears to many eyes, solidifying her status as a role model both within and beyond the community. But perhaps the most significant change was how Maria inspired those around her to embrace their own potential. Emma and Jake, now teenagers, grew up watching their mother turn adversity into triumph. They saw firsthand the importance of hard work, integrity, and standing up for what's right. Emma, in particular, developed a passion for storytelling and started documenting the lives of people who visited the hotel. With Maria's encouragement, she created a blog called Voices of the Haven, where guests shared their experiences and dreams. The blog quickly gained popularity, further cementing Thompson's Haven as a place where everyone's voice mattered. Even former critics couldn't deny the impact Maria had made. Travel industry experts praised her ability to balance profitability with purpose, proving that businesses could thrive while staying socially responsible. Corporate executives, once skeptical of Maria's unconventional methods, began consulting her for advice on managing other properties. "You've shown us that success isn't just about numbers," one executive admitted during a meeting. "It's about making a difference." Despite her growing influence, Maria remained humble. She continued to greet guests personally, remembering names and preferences as if each visitor were an old friend. She often said, "This hotel is my heart, and everyone who walks through these doors becomes part of my family." It wasn't uncommon to see her sitting with guests in the lobby, sipping tea and listening to their stories. For Maria, these moments were the greatest reward. They reminded her why she had poured so much of herself into this dream. The community rallied around Maria too, recognizing the positive impact Thompson's Haven had on the town. Local businesses thrived thanks to the influx of visitors, and schools benefited from partnerships Maria established to fund educational programs. She even organized annual festivals celebrating the culture and history of the area, drawing tourists from neighboring cities. These events fostered a sense of unity, bringing together residents and travelers alike in celebration of shared humanity. Of course, challenges still arose. There were days when managing the hotel felt overwhelming, especially as demand grew and expansion plans loomed on the horizon. But Maria faced each obstacle with the same determination that had carried her through darker times. She surrounded herself with a trusted leadership team, empowering them to take ownership of their roles while maintaining her guiding principles. Together they navigated everything from staffing shortages to unexpected maintenance issues, always prioritizing the well-being of guests and employees. By the 5th anniversary of Thompson's Haven, the hotel had become more than just a business. It was a beacon of hope and possibility. To mark the occasion, Maria hosted a grand celebration, inviting everyone who had ever been touched by the hotel's story. Guests traveled from near and far to attend, eager to reunite with the place and the woman that had changed their lives. The event featured heartfelt speeches, live music, and a slideshow of cherished memories captured over the years. As Maria stood on stage addressing the crowd, she struggled to hold back tears. "I never imagined I'd be here today," she confessed, her voice trembling with emotion. "When I opened this hotel, I just wanted to create a space where people felt safe and valued. But you turned it into so much more. You showed me that kindness has the power to transform not just individual lives, but entire communities. And for that, I'll be forever grateful." The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing through the halls of Thompson's Haven like a promise. A promise that Maria's vision would continue to inspire long after the party ended. In the months and years that followed, Maria expanded her efforts beyond the hotel. She wrote a book detailing her journey titled From Struggle to Sanctuary, which became a bestseller and inspired countless readers to pursue their dreams despite the odds. She also launched a foundation aimed at supporting single mothers and women entrepreneurs, providing grants and mentorship to help them overcome barriers similar to those she had faced. Through it all, Maria stayed true to herself. She remained a devoted mother, a loyal friend, and a tireless advocate for kindness and inclusion. Her story served as a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and hardship, it's possible to rise stronger and wiser. By refusing to let others define her worth, Maria proved that courage and compassion are the most powerful tools we possess. And so, as the sun set over Thompson's Haven one quiet evening, casting golden light across its welcoming facade, Maria stood outside, taking it all in: the laughter of children playing in the courtyard, the chatter of guests exchanging stories, the hum of life flowing through the building. It was everything she had dreamed of, and more. In that moment, she knew she had achieved something extraordinary. Not just a successful hotel, but a sanctuary where love, resilience, and community would always have a home.